Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back with a Horus Heresy episode, and this time I want to kind of go over my two favorite characters from the Horus Heresy. That is Garviel Loken and Samus. As many of you guys know, for this series I am creating my Horus Heresy in the style of OLDHAMMER, so everything from Rogue Trader to early 2nd edition. And this army project will probably now take over a year to accomplish, and it's meant as a gift to my two older brothers. Now for this episode, I want to create Garviel Loken and Samus, as I do believe they are some of the most iconic characters in the Horus Heresy, and especially just the lore is amazing. I've been listening to the Warrior Tier YouTube channel about Horus Rising, and I fell in love with them. So for Garviel Loken, he is pretty much one of the most badass characters in the Horus Heresy and one of the last loyal Luna Wolves. And to make a long story short, he is the birth of Samus, if I'm not mistaken, and I just love the interactions they have between the two of them. So I'm going to set off to make them primarily focusing on the older art for Garviel Loken. I know in a lot of art, he's Cerberus, his other persona, I guess he got after the Istvan 3 betrayal, but I'm going to make him more in line with the artwork I typically see portrayed by him. And for Samus, I'm going to do a small twist on him, where I do know certain elements he needs. However, to fit it more into the OLDHAMMER, I have to make some adjustments. For the two base models, for Loken, I'll be using this lieutenant from Rogue Trader. His armor is already artificer looking, so I think he fits the vision I have for him. And for Samus, I'm using the 4th to 5th edition Chaos Demon Prince, as he has a good size and base to work with. I start off by chopping the arms, as I'm going to repose them and have a bit of a more menacing pose rather than the stock pose this Demon Prince comes with. It's not bad, but it's not what I'm looking for, especially to match Samus. So after the arm, I go to the chest piece and I start clipping off the stubs and just trimming down where the wings should be and any muscle, as again, I do need to fit the two arms to be straight down, so a little bit has to be trimmed here and there. Moving on to the arm of the Demon Prince, I sliced it at the elbow, as I'm going to repose it completely. I just have to make a pin and put it through, and then sculpt that gap. So this is Samus. For the beginning stages, I did bend the torso more lunging forward, which meant I had to trim the back muscles as well, so I do have to sculpt that. And I bent his left leg to be a bit more straight, so he has a more commanding pose. And once I have all the parts glued together, you have a small idea of what Samus looks like. I want him screaming, yelling, having his dagger in one hand, other arm lunged out. I'm really happy with this new pose. Now that both models have their base work done, we're going to focus on Garviel Loken. And for my YouTube members, there will be a full tutorial for how I do all the sculpting. For the rest of you guys, I'm just going to show a small breakdown of how I get Loken with the minor changes he needs to fit my vision. So we start off with the helmet. He has a Mark 6 Corvus helmet on this miniature. I want to make it the Mark 4 Maximus armor helmet, as that is the one you see primarily in the artwork. So the beaky helmet already is a good base. All I have to do is sculpt and create the shape, probably like a half rectangle, to cover up that sharp pointed end for the traditional Corvus helmet. Once we have that basic shape done, I'm going to put a small ball of green stuff, as Garviel Loken is a captain, and the artwork, he has the awesome plume. I have to start creating that, so I quickly create a base, let this dry, and I can move on to create the rest of the awesome Centurion plume they always have. So jumping forward, I do have to fix the pauldron. There was a purity seal that covered a little bit of the chest and the arm. A lot of models shouldn't have purity seals, especially in the Horus Heresy era. So I sliced that off and I started focusing on the helmet, as the Mark IV for Rogue Trader has the rebreathers on the side and the slits you see on the front. So I have to start going around and adding those elements to the helmet. And after a little bit of work, the plume, the helmet, it's all done, and just small modifications can turn this classic Rogue Trader model into my OLDHAMMER Horus Heresy project. So really pleased with the outcome. Let's move on to Samus, the Prince of the Ruined Storm. So jumping over to Samus, you saw him last with the base work. There's a little bit of green stuff since then, so I put green stuff where the elbow should be, blended that in, created a very small tail, filled in the muscles in the back, and you'll see some more close-ups. So for the arm, all I had to do was match the muscle structure. Wasn't too much work. I think what you're seeing took about 30 minutes of sculpting. All you want to do is match the missing muscle, and I used the other arm as reference, so not as hard as it sounds. Now moving to his back, in the artwork of Samus and the model, he has these huge protruding spines coming out of his back, and then a lot of these smaller ones. Because this is OLDHAMMER, I decided to make everything a bit scaled down, of course. So what I'm doing is grabbing some green stuff and just blending this weird lump to his back, as I need 2 of these to put the really big spikes, and then I can sculpt the horns separately. So this is what I mean. You're creating these almost like giant pus sac balls, hollow them out, and once they're dry, we can put the green stuff horns into them, blend them in, and create a more natural back onto Samus. Now for the face of Samus, I don't show too much, but all I do is grab a pretty sizable ball of green stuff. Samus, again in the artwork, has a houndish looking face, so I am going to have to be sculpting his whole maw, the teeth, and the tongue. So as you can see, I'm grabbing my shovel tool and I'm just digging in, creating that open mouth. Once I have the mouth, I can sculpt in the extra muscles on the side, the snout to blend into the cheekbones. I'm using the model's face as a reference. Unlike sculpting it from 100%, I'm trying to guide it to what the model has. And you can see here how awesome the mouth looks once you blend it to the face of the Demon Prince. I think this really does scream Samus. He is that Demon Prince of murder or the Ruined Storm, and I think he fits that viciousness that you read about throughout the Horus Heresy. And I grab my other sculpting tool and I continue to push in the green stuff. I want to make the detail as sharp as possible, like you see in the Forge World model. So I want to make sure it looks like the skin really is stretching as he's screaming at Loken. So I'm just making sure every line is quite accentuated. And when I come to paint him, hopefully in another video, it'll pop out a lot more. Once the face is done, I go and start creating very small triangles of green stuff. The model of Samus has a lot of random thorns and spines protruding out of his face and body. Now, I'm not going to make all the ones you see on the Forge World model, as it is gigantic, but I want to put enough that it can read as Samus. So once I have all the green stuff spikes in his body, I grab more green stuff, and I'm gonna blend now the thorns and spines to the flesh so it looks like it ripped through his back and not just sitting on it. So I grab this new layer of green stuff and I will blend it in first at the base, then for the green stuff nearest to the thorn and spine and bony parts, I'll make it look more erupted, torn, and weathered, again as I want it to look jagged. So you can see here what I mean. All the back looks pretty gnarly, all the spines ripped out of his back, leading to his anger or whatever reason, and I'm really happy of how the direction it's coming along with Samus. Moving towards the neck of Samus, I put a rectangle of green stuff, grabbed my metal dental tool, and I started poking it. This is one of the methods they used to do for fur texture, and because this Demon Prince model already has this fur texture, I want to match it as closely as possible. And in the Forge World miniature of Samus, he does have hair on his neck, so again I am trying to match a bit from the official art, but also match the model I'm working with. And here you're seeing Samus's mouth. I put the tongue and teeth in. Really happy. I do go back and make sure the detail's a bit more smooth, but overall Samus is almost complete. Here you can see I put a big scar on his back and a open slash by his lower half as well. And there you guys have it. Samus and Garviel Loken are both complete to match my OLDHAMMER Horus Heresy project. So I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. I'm super happy to have both these characters done, as I love listening to Warrior Tier about the first, story or two of the Horus Heresy. And just these characters themselves, I think Garviel Loken is simple and elegant. Again, I am trying to match the visions of the Horus Heresy art, where the Space Marines aren't bedecked too much and over the top as we see in the current models. So I do think with the Artificer armor he has on his left whole arm and the shoulder pad, and the right arm having the scroll work, this model, honestly, I didn't want to touch too much, as it really does read as a captain of a legion without having to do crazy flowing capes and all of that. So I'm really happy with how he came out. And for Samus, again, just like Loken, I am really happy with how a one-day sculpting project could make the vision I had for him. I do like the simplicity of Samus, as I do like the artwork, but he does feel like a demon of Khorne, and I want him to be a separate entity, as he is not actually a demon of Khorne. But overall, I think he turned out the way I wanted to. He fits the idea for OLDHAMMER, and he is quite tall. I think you saw the comparison. He is easily 2 Space Marines in height, and I'm really happy with the end result of him. So there you guys have it again. I hope you enjoyed this short Horus Heresy series for characters. I will start painting them soon, but I still have much more to build. Thank you guys again.